All right. Hello, everybody. We are here for the first State of the Union for President Trump in his second term. I'm here with my fellow brethrens from the cash flow. If they get an afro, it can be a cash flow chronicles. Matt Money and Chris Patel. And we got Dougie Dollar joining us today.
What's up, everybody?
Double D.
Double D. That's what we should call you. Double D. I like that. That's a good one. We'll call you that.
I'm down with it.
Double D with the stunner shades. Love it.
All right, this thing is going to start in like 5-10 minutes. As soon as Trump goes in, I will switch to it. But let's start with you, Chris. What are you expecting from this today?
I think it's going to be a lot of highlighting of all the policies that have come out over the last 6 weeks. I think it's going to highlight if the whole Zelensky minerals deal thing goes through. I think he's going to highlight that. And I think he's just going to try to just basically, do what Trump does best, boast about his accomplishments. It's like, when we came in, blah, 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 and look at us now. So that's what Trump does. And he's going to do that. So, yeah.
All right, Matt Money, what are you expecting from this first State of the Union?
What am I expecting? I'm expecting a lot of what Chris said, some boisterousness, some talking about how great we are, but hopefully he gives a little bit of context, right? That's what I hope that people get a little bit more. I don't necessarily think that what he's doing is a bad thing. Of course, I think a lot of folks will take this as an opportunity to bash because the stock market's pulled back a little bit. And obviously people are fearful of inflation. And remember what that was like going from 2020 to 2022 with prices going up and how unfun that was. And people to have to pull out second mortgages just to buy eggs. I don't anticipate that that's what's going to happen. I think it's strategic. And I think in the long term, everything that's going on in the government, whether that's tariffs, whether that's DOGE, whether it's a lot of these things that have been ongoing are, in my opinion, thought out. It's what a lot of people voted for. And I think I haven't heard of many people, although I've seen a lot of people on certain sides of the aisle say, what Trump is doing is very bad. Then I hear other people saying it's obviously what we all voted for. So I guess it all just depends on where you view things. But overall, I'm hoping we get a little more context.
Yeah. One other thing, dude, there's going to be a lot of mention of Biden. Like, it's going to be like trashing Biden the entire time,
Dougie Dollars, who Michelle thinks your bricks are better than mine. What are your thoughts on this first State of the Union?
I think I agree with Chris that it's going to be a lot of what the president talks about. I wish he would just move on from talking about Biden and just, move forward, but he doesn't seem to be able to do that. So this really is a State of the Union too. Really, it kind of is whenever the president says it is. The Constitution just says from time to time he shall, so when the AP or the White House press pool says actually it's just a joint session of Congress, okay, whatever, fine.
That confused me today because I thought it was a State of the Union, but then all the official sources were saying it's not, and I'm like, okay, I guess it's not, but it is, right?
There's no such thing as a quote unquote State of the Union. It just says the president shall from time to time give the State of the Union to Congress assembled. So whenever he meets with Congress assembled, he can call it a State of the Union because he's qualifying that bit of the Constitution.
Yeah, that is fair. Okay, so we're going to be using PBS. Hopefully this doesn't block us. I don't think this one will get blocked. Last time we got blocked, I think we were using, what did we use for the inauguration? One of those or let me use the official White House stream. I think that'll guarantee we don't get blocked. That should be good.
I would think C-SPAN would be good too.
Yeah, C-SPAN should be good as well. Chris, what do you think this speech is going to have in terms of the markets? Do you think they tank while he's talking, or what do you think?
I mean, if he talks enough about Mexico and Canada and how like the tariffs are going to make us rich, I think that could do it. My thing is these tariffs are being utilized in a way to basically get economic policy done while also placating the base, to basically say I'm America first. Now, what's more America first than putting tariffs on Canada and Mexico and saying, look, I've got you better trade deals and all this other stuff, even though technically speaking, they're not really better trade deals because it's the USMCA. I don't think they're really going back a lot on that. So I find that a lot of the people that he has on his cabinet are pretty competent people who are doing what needs to be done. Some of the impacts in the short term are going to definitely be painful for a lot of people, but long term, I think the country's headed economically, especially, in the right direction. Yeah.
Okay, Doug, you think he says anything about tariffs or Zelensky that could hurt the markets tonight?
I mean, he can say anything that'll hurt the markets tonight. He could also say stuff that'll make it rip. I mean, it might go back and forth in the same speech. So what I'm really curious about is what the Democrats are going to do. I've been seeing some stuff on X saying they might have some spicy shenanigans or stunts on plan. So we'll see about that. But look, I mean, if the other thing we heard that Lutnick said that he's going to roll back the tariffs tomorrow, if he announces that and he announces he got deals done, like, what is everybody so upset with, right? And maybe he talks about DOGE too. I haven't seen a picture of Elon yet. I would think if Elon was there, the camera would have found him. But
well, Elon, yeah, I mean, he should be there tonight.
I would think so, but
yeah. Matt, you think he tanks the markets, or he says good stuff, the markets like it?
I don't know. I'm curious to see, because I've heard about a lot of discussions behind the scenes that haven't necessarily been relayed about whether or not actually, and I think a lot of people knew about this. I've kind of gotten some pushback on X about this. I think a lot of people recognize that rollbacks of these tariffs are kind of inevitable. And with that, I think, it's always, in my opinion, since the beginning of the announcement of these tariffs, since the administration came into power in January 20th, I've always anticipated that it was going to be an opportunity for people to come to the table. Canada obviously announced increased tariffs as well, and they directly talked specifically to the American people, specifically the Canadian people, as well as Donald Trump saying this is a bad idea, this is going to cause inflation, etc. But I think in reality, it's going to get people back to the table. We're going to come up with a new USMCA deal, and with that, it's going to be as if it never happened within 3 months.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, did say today on a Fox Business interview 5 hours ago that he thinks the Mexicans and Canadians will come to an agreement.
Didn't I say that? Didn't I say that on your morning stream? That this dude was literally like, he's got no poker face, man. I was watching his stream in the morning with Amit, and I was like, this dude is obviously lying. Yeah, I guess like you want to come up with some extramarital reasons why you want to do these stupid tariffs. So you're like, oh no, fentanyl is the problem. Bro, fentanyl was a problem in the first term in office too for Trump. How come he didn't do anything about it then? Like, no, this is a very convenient thing that he can put in place and say, look, my goal of the tariffs is not economic correction. It's fentanyl. But everyone, especially, at least that I think, right now, they're just bringing more market uncertainty into the mix, And some of it, of course, is also trade deficits to come down as well. So that could help a little bit. I wonder who they put in what is that thing called? In the bunker, because usually with the State of the Union, they actually have to take one of the members of the cabinet or in the line of succession and hide them, because just in case there's like a nuclear attack, the entire government could be wiped out. So they usually take one member and put him somewhere, So I wonder who it is.
We do have a piece of news right here. So sources say in the State of the Union, President Trump will announce intent to impose reciprocal tariffs on countries who impose tariffs. Trump is expected to say whatever they tariff us, we will tariff them. This doesn't really make sense when Lutnick said there's not going to be any tariffs.
And that's not new either. He's been saying that since.
Yeah. I guess we'll see how this plays out. He's not live yet. He will be live in a bit. Doug, question for you. Do you think Trump's doing the right thing by pursuing tariffs, even if it's tanking the markets right now for whatever reason he's pursuing it? Or do you think there's a better way to go about What do you
I
think?
do not. I am a free trader. And I believe that tariffs are wrong. Um, Not necessarily, I guess morally. I know historically that's what we're used to collect the national revenue. But I feel like that was because you collected all that tariff at the ports, at the incoming ports, where everything was localized, right? We have a much more dynamic economy just than goods coming in and out of ports now. Um, you and I were chatting earlier today about like SaaS companies. Like, there's no tariffs on software. There's no tariffs on Google searches. Like, what if they tariffed Google searches?
Yeah.
Like every time information cross national borders, they want to tariff that, and that's arguably more valuable these days than any singular commodity, right? So I think tariffs are a very ancient way of doing business. I think it's just punitive. I don't think it is going to make the average American any richer. I mean, so the U.S. government has money in its coffers. I doubt the folks on Main Street, in wherever Texas, are going to feel richer because the U.S. collected an extra $1 billion in tariffs this year. And if they are doing that to offset income tax, when are the income taxes being lowered?
Well, the challenge against tariffs is that I agree free trade is the way that you want to go, but the impacts of having complete free trade without any sort of restrictions is that you cause a lot of income inequality. Okay? So what happens is, let's say you're a manufacturer of goods and services. If you can outsource that to a third party country, they'll build it for you for cheap. You import it in, zero tariffs. Now you lay off all your workers. What ends up happening is now you become richer because the profits that your company is able to generate grow significantly. And the populace that tends to buy those goods and services, they get poorer, right? And so what do they have to do? They have to rely on the government to supplement all of that additional money. So right now, all these people in our country that are on welfare, that are on unemployment, that are on food stamps and Medicaid and all these other government programs, the government is just subsidizing their consumption. Now, the reason why we do it is very simple. It's because we.
All right, I got to cut you off there. Trump is
that's
live.
fine.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. We'll talk a lot more about this after the after the stream.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's Trump. Steve Scalise right behind him, which is the majority whip. Trying to recognize people.
Is that Sachs? Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, is that Sachs?
Yeah, that's
No,
Sachs.
That's not Sachs. That's not Sachs.
That's not Sachs, no. That's Steve Scalise behind him.
Yeah, that's Steve Scalise. Yeah, that's Steve Scalise. No handshakes for this side. Not even.
I think that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, it's not like look at what's her name is scowling right there. She's not even like trying to look that way.
Who? Amy
one of the Democrats.
The lady in the right. Yeah, all the Democrats on the president's left. Look, they're not even making eye contact. They're not even watching.
Guys, there is no audio yet. This is the White House stream. If the audio sucks during the speech, I'll switch to a different one. But there should be no audio right now because he's just taking hands.
Nancy Mace. Yeah. Let's see if we recognize. Yeah, the Democrats are all just chilling. They're just like, nah, bro, we're not talking to you.
My dog does this when you like tell her to go lay down while we're eating, and she just like turns her head and faces the wall so she doesn't have to watch you, and she just pouts.
Dude, with Chuck Schumer, I can't get over like the Al Smith dinner where basically, did you guys hear the joke that Trump made?
Yes.
That was the
Wait, what joke?
best.
What did he say? What did he say?
I forget. Yeah, Chris, remind me. It was good though.
Oh, so Schumer, it's like, don't worry if Kamala loses. Schumer, you'll have your chance to be the first woman president.
That's what I was. I forgot. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Um,
All the justices.
to
So
Fox.
that's Kavanaugh, and then let's see.
yeah, guys, this audio,
Yeah.
Fox's audio is unbearable because it's a lot of clapping. So this is way better than
Yeah.
Fox's.
Then
Muffled a
that's
little bit,
Amy Klobuchar. I think that's Alito.
Damn, Chris is good at this. I know. I know the faces. I don't know the names.
Dude, Chris is a political junkie. He knows the freaking amendments, all that stuff.
We gotta know things, bro. Let's see.
I know the Second Amendment really well because I've been working out so much. You know, I got my guns.
Some
right here.
guns.
So, you know what I'm talking about? I've used this joke way too much. I've used it like 5 times. People are gonna get upset. I keep using this stupid joke.
Gratata.
Gratata. See, look, a stop. There you go. There you go.
USA.
For those that are annoyed
USA
and
chance.
clapping, there's going to be many moments where he stops talking and everyone stands up to clap, or the Republicans. So it's going to be a lot of clapping tonight.
All right, you got Vice President.
There we go.
Text President Trump.
Text Donnie.
Dude, he's a marketing genius.
No, don't text him. You're gonna be signed up to this Republican fucking emailers, dude. Don't do it. I must have commented on something. Now I'm inundated with, do you want to donate to Keep America Red? I'm like, no, dude.
So
Eric Trump's going to be texting you a lot, asking you for money.
My
Not
dad,
Don Jr. or Barron, but Eric.
My dad signed up for some of these things, and since he's passed away, like I guess it's because originally when I grew up, he put me on a cell phone plan, and now I'm on my independent, but somehow they're still linked in the background. The amount of calls I get to donate to specific parties is insane. NRA, just everything. It's insane.
All right, I think we'll start to talk very soon.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the shenanigans are going to be. The Democrats promised some stunts. I'm ready to see them.
Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States.
Get it, Melania.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. Six weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years. and we are just getting started. Thank you. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
I think that's Al Green. Forgot his name.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded.
Mr. President.
A 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and
I was right. That is Al Green.
Decorum, and
That
the
is Al
chair
Green.
is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
I think I know what's going to happen. I think at one at a time, all of them are going to keep coming up and doing this and basically disrupt this whole thing.
Bro,
Yeah,
that's
so they're gonna
I've never
script
seen
it
this
out.
happen before. I've never seen this.
Yeah. It's one at a time they're going to do it. So let's see. Al Green was the first one.
So hold
I
on.
wonder who's
The
next
Sergeant
one.
General like shows his gun or something.
Members
Like,
are directed
the Sergeant
to
at
uphold
Arms
and maintain
moves
decorum in the
people.
House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
What sign is that? What are we saying?
Musk steals, save Medicaid,
Huh.
protect veterans.
Lol.
Yeah,
So
the veterans
Democrats
one's pretty
sitting
funny,
before
isn't it?
me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
With the point.
Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we have ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer.
Bro.
We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team or they will lose all federal funding. And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
I think that's the first shot against inflation right there. So I'm going to keep a counter on that. So number one, inflation
Joe
correction
Biden
is
especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control.
2. That's
We're
a second
working
reference
hard
to
to
it.
get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil
Counter
and gas
3.
leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
There's Elon.
You see that lady looking at him? She's like, bro, I'm trying to be the next baby mama.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. I don't know what we're doing. Should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, the most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of
please
fraud.
say big balls. Please say big balls.
Dude, I mean, when he lists all those types of things, it's hard not to think that DOGE does have a purpose. And there's a lot of that stuff that's just pure waste.
And no one had ever heard of USAID until a couple weeks
and
ago.
reduced our debt
Right.
to fight inflation and other things. Taking back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them. And we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does. And it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
That's a pretty good one. Not gonna lie.
Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229, one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going. And it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it.
That tenure is going to like this.
With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax. Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
I never understood taxes on Social Security. I never got that.
Yeah, it's a tax on tax. It's like the weirdest thing. It's like,
want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America.
That's not a bad idea.
That is a good idea. I like that.
I think it's a great idea.
And
You
by
got
the
to
way, we're
cap
going
it
to have
at like
growth in the auto
100K
industry
income,
like
though.
nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world.
Yeah, they have to be excited about the interest rates coming down so they can sell more cars.
Yeah.
And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea, but that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer, who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you, because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies. They're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again. And it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us. Very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to. Last year, a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter. And earlier tonight, I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order? Thank you very much. All three savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great, great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war in America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. Five nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it. And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bondi, good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash.
It's Chris's brother.
They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. One year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law. I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
That's my dude right there. It's a stone cold killer. Look at him. No smile, no nothing.
Did you know about him before this? Yeah, neither.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
It's pretty cool. He's like, I have so many questions.
Thank you, DJ.
When do I show up to work?
DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000. And now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby, good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Look at him. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology. I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a difference. And you know, it was just a few months ago where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround. It's really a beautiful thing to see. People love our country again. It's very simple. They love our country and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing. And thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. We're joined tonight by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a six-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets. Thank you. Jason, you're going to be on the lone gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA.
Rocket Lab.
And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim? Right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding.
Bro, if he said Palantir, that would get fun. But he's not.
And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight
Palantir?
that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them.
Rocket Lab is a
very
US-based
soon.
company.
It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job.
I like Marco.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security. And we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security. And I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice. And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans, but I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened.
That would have
And
been
they've
his real
spent
deal.
$100 billion. What a difference.
Get them to
it
buy
makes.
our
And we
LNG.
have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you.
Wow.
I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful? It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end the senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight. To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors. We thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their two beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you. To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his three beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond. And through it all, we are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day, we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America.
All right. We are finished with the State of the Union. Doug, I'll give it to you. What was your raw reaction to this?
Remember earlier today I texted you that it should be fun to watch this?
You did say that.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I was correct on that. But
I mean, there were certain moments that were definitely entertaining.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so a couple of quick takeaways. The holding up my little signs as if that's like the only thing I can do in protest is so 2024 Democratic Party. I was texting back and forth with someone I've gotten to know a little bit on Twitter who's a Democratic operative. And I was just like, girl, tell me this is not the best y'all have. Like, y'all paid someone for these signs. Like, this is what y'all's big thing you've been blowing up all day was going to be. And she was telling me, no, I don't know who's responsible for this, but it's terrible. So that's just kind of funny that that kind of fell flat on its face. Second takeaway, though, was, and I guess we knew about this earlier, though, but most of the country probably didn't, was the letter from Zelensky saying, all right, let's do it. We're in. We're here for peace. That's kind of the only really big news that I can. The speech was so dang long. It's kind of the only thing I really remember that kind of moves my needle very much. The tariffs are what they're going to be. We didn't really hear any companies named other than OpenAI and Oracle.
Yeah.
There was the talk of the golden shield or the golden dome. I'm pretty skeptical about that covering something, that's basically half the size of Houston with air defense is one thing. Covering the entire nation of the United States is entirely something else. Because, math is hard. And when you start having to protect volume, you get a cube of the of the area you have to deal with, not just the square of it. It's not the acreage, it's the volume. Yeah, anyway.
Okay. Matt, what was your takeaway from the speech?
A little longer than I anticipated. It needed to be sped up a little bit. I think there was some fluff in there that maybe could have been foregone and would have been not missed. No mention of crypto like I was anticipating. I thought that was one thing that he would definitely talk about, which he did not. I was expecting when he announced a little bit with respect to Ukraine and Russia that might have an impact on oil futures, and I waited, and so far it looks like there's not much going on the oil future side, although we're still below $70 a barrel in WTI. I thought he would mention a little bit more about LNG. He didn't really speak much about that. He did speak about the energy independence, though, drill baby drill, but he didn't really go on to some of the executive orders that he'd already put in place. He did speak about the pipeline in Alaska, so I think he is very bullish about potentially the Alaska LNG side of things, which is bullish for the Southeast Asia market for LNG. But I think one thing that he touched on, which I agree with 100%, right? He talked about equal tariffs for countries that have them. And I think a lot of people don't really recognize this. Why do you think we have so many cars from South Korea on the road, right? Hyundai is a big example, and we've seen a lot of other things like Kias and stuff come into the market, all of which are, Southeast Asian car manufacturers that have been not freely, but able to come to the United States with little to no pushback. But yet, are they doing the same sort of buying from us, from a GM perspective, from a Ford perspective, from a Tesla perspective in Southeast Asia? And I would say likely not. Yes, there might be some select few in China, but are they willingly taking? And I could be miseducated on this. Are they willingly taking GM cars? And same thing with the conversation that Trump had said in the past with respect to his conversations with Merkel and in Germany, right? We're willingly accepting BMWs and Mercedes, and it's not to say that we won't allow those cars to be brought in here. It's just it's more so talking about actually manufacturing the cars here, right? Not just making the final assembly here, like apparently Mercedes does, right? They ship majority of the parts here from different countries. They don't necessarily make it from the ground up here. So anyway, just some thoughts around that, and I'm okay with it. I think eventually it's going to lead to just greater negotiations across the table and putting America first again, which I think is something that we've been leaning back in our chair over the past 4 years of this administration. And it seems like, and I got some grief on this one on X as well. I said putting our elbows on the table, right? We're here to stay. We're here to make sure that we have some elbow room versus just leaning back and letting the other nations talk freely. We're taking back our spot at the table, and I think some people said that's rude. It's only rude if you're eating, and we're here negotiating. So put your elbows on the table. Let's make a deal.
Those are good points, Matt. Amit, we want to hear your thoughts. You're the guy who's always asking everyone else for theirs, and I want to take a Farzad note here and ask you for your thoughts.
I got kind of bored by the end of it, to be honest. I mean, like the takeaway from me is that whatever Trump's going to get done, the Democrats are not going to help him. And if he wants to get any policies passed, I mean, the fact that Al Green did that whole stunt of leaving, Democrats wouldn't stand up, even for the things you would think they would stand up for, but they didn't. I mean, like, he's completely isolated politically, and his political capital. He has 100 days to really get something done. It's going to come from the Republicans. They might get some Democrats to come across the aisle to pass the funding bill that just got passed in the House that they need to get passed in Congress, but they might have to go through reconciliation. That's what Biden had to do as well. And Kamala was the deciding vote to actually get their Inflation Reduction Act passed because they didn't have two-thirds of Congress to vote for it. So to me, I mean, like, look, it was Trump. He was entertaining. At some parts, it was rambling. Some parts, it was boring. But I do think that whatever he's going to get done, he's going to need Republican support because none of the Democrats are going to support this, and they're getting ready for the midterms.
N92 brings up an interesting point here in the chat, talking about potash coming from Canada. And I just want to point out, we need to give old Donnie a little credit here. He's playing a little bit of 4D chess. Yes, we get like 90% of our potash from Canada, but do you know who has like 60% of the world's supply of potash? Ukraine. So if we get a deal done there, we can just get the potash for free. Yes, it's fertilizer. We can get the potash for pennies on the dollar or whatever, a lot less than we're paying for Canada. So I feel like, what we're giving away in tariffs with Canada, I feel like the president already feels like he's going to replace the loss for what we might lose with Canada with what he's going to get from Ukraine.
Well, it'll be really interesting tomorrow to see if a deal is actually passed, because again, Howard Lutnick said by tomorrow there's not going to be any tariffs because they're going to come to a compromise. Justin Trudeau spent an hour basically, yelling at the United States and criticizing the American people, yada yada. And it seems like all of this was for show. If he knew a deal was going to get done, and if Trump knew a deal was going to get done, it was show on his part as well. So I don't know. I think the market is not thinking that these deals are real. I hope they believe the minerals deal is real, and I hope that actually happens. But I think the market is kind of like show me versus tell me, because so many of these things that Trump has been saying has been a show me thing, because he's been saying a lot, but nothing's been happening. And so I guess we're going to see how that ends up playing out. Palantir right here is up about 3%. Robinhood's up 2%. CrowdStrike down 10%. That one got hammered really badly. We'll talk about that in the morning. S&P's up about 1%. And then Bitcoin right here, 87,000. Why do you guys think NVIDIA pumped? I mean, it's up 3% right now. Did it have to
XAI? He mentioned XAI.
But does that mean buy NVIDIA because of that? Or
what else does it mean? I mean, XAI and Oracle. Okay, well, what are they buying? NVIDIA.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I did have a question for you, Matt. As far as the vehicles go, and just kind of the thesis on the tit for tat tariffs.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Kias especially, less so Hyundais, but Kias are way nicer cars than GM.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I pay more for a General Motors? If I live in Southeast Asia, why would I pay more for a worse vehicle than I can buy domestically already?
Depends. I mean, I love my Tahoe. I don't have any problems with my Tahoe, but I know you're a Tesla guy, and hey, when I lived in Trinidad, I was driving around my Kia Sportage, and that thing was tossed up. The roads in Trinidad are not favorable. Anybody that's ever been there, that thing handled things like a champ. Although I did get a couple flat tires over there, but I mean, you're not wrong, but still, I mean, can't say that. I don't know what's a good example. Jaguars are the most.
If it's a true apples to apples comparison, is what I'm saying.
I mean, people still buy Jaguars in the U.S. and they break down. They have horrible reliability. Same thing with Land Rover, right? So
that's true.
It just allows that functionality, and also, generally speaking, although Kia stepped up a little bit, and same with Hyundai in terms of the size of their SUVs at this point, but some people might want that big Tahoe SUV. But like you said, I mean, the new Kia actually does show up pretty well from the size department. They didn't used to be as large, but they're getting bigger over time.
Yeah.
Here's my question on this whole make the trucks and cars in America. Won't they just become more expensive for American consumers?
Yes.
So then how does this make any sense?
It doesn't.
Okay. Matt, do you have a way to? Because I
I'm a free trade
guy.
Free trade gives you the best pricing. Free trade gives you the best pricing. Chris said correctly that it creates income inequality, and that's true. But if you want the best pricing to sell your goods and services at the best prices, goods mostly, free trade. So look, the Uyghurs in China are going to be sewing soccer balls with their teeth. Whether we sell them cheeseburgers or not, but I'd rather sell them cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is some nuance to how bringing more jobs and manufacturing to the United States can overall increase growth. I don't know if that's going to decrease prices. And then the counter is, well, people should just be happy to buy American.
Yeah, that didn't work in the 90s.
Yeah,
it's not going to work now.
I mean, I'm not saying, and I don't know, I'm no economist, I'm not smart at this, but I think we're all smart enough to know that if you have a facility that's only producing at half capacity, your unit production cost is going to be higher than if you have a facility that's producing a maximum capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm not saying this right or wrongly, right? But Trump did note that some of these facilities in Indiana and in the Midwest are only at, he didn't give a percentage, but let's just assume it's 50% capacity. If they're up at 100% or even 80%, that means your gross margins are going to be able to increase, and favorably, if there's competition inside the country, then technically you could lower the cost per vehicle and still make money, because at the end of the day, you have more volume coming out. Unit production cost is going to go down per vehicle, and so you have more margin to play with, and eventually prices should potentially come down. But that's a counter argument. I don't know how real that is.
You've got to pay all this other stuff. How do you beat Tesla for an American car? How do you beat Tesla?
There's always going to be competition, man. Nobody's, 100% of cars are not going to be Tesla, as much as Tesla lovers love it. I know you and Mitt both drive Teslas. I've had this conversation a million times over the past 5 years. A lot of people still think that.
I'm just thinking from a margins and the value.
Well, Tesla's margins haven't been so great lately either. So let's just take that standpoint. I mean, they're not the 30% fat margins they used to be in 2020 and 2021. Right, they're down to single-digit margins, just like the rest of American car makers.
What are the margins on an F-150? An F-150 Lariat?
I don't know, but I know they're the single digits, and so is Tesla this past quarter. So,
look, it's a fair point. I think if we get massive economies of scale by bringing manufacturing back, we will get cheaper prices. I don't know if we get that if only Honda is making a Civic in Indiana, right? Like, you kind of need them to make all of the Civics in the United States, not just in Japan. But I guess we'll see. This is what Trump wants to do. The country voted for him, and so we're gonna have to see what route he ends up taking this.
I mean, people are able to make favorable vehicles, like the Toyota Tundra. They claim it's Texas made. It's majority made in Texas, and people buy that. There's no people quarreling about buying a Tundra. In fact, a lot of my friends who used to always buy American and used to get made fun of, they say this is a damn well good made truck, and it's made in America. So why not buy the Toyota Tundra?
The real question is, Matt, when are you buying a Lambo? That's the real question.
One, I don't know if I could fit in one, and then two, I just
we were parked next to one at the place the other day when we went for lunch. That was a pretty good size SUV.
I waited for you to get out, and then I leave, and then I left my Tahoe, and I actually got into that. And
okay.
But no,
Matt sold all of his stocks. He's like acting sad because the market downturn. In reality, he sold the top, and now he's just buying Lambo.
Yeah. Matt's like, I bought Rocket Lab at 17 today.
I did.
You sold it all at 30.
Sold it all at 30, bro. He sold it all.
No, I mean, I thought about it all the time, right? I always have this debate with myself, right? Because I'm sitting here, and it's very funny. I have this conversation so many times. It's like I have now multiple homes, all of which are more expensive than the house I actually live in. And I those out, right? To either long-term renters or people that go vacation at the beach. It's like, well, I'm actually going to buy a house for myself that's actually badass, right? Because this house will eventually be a rental, etc. But coming back to the actual Lambo question, I just don't foresee buying a brand new Lamborghini. If anything, if you guys want the real answer, if I were to buy a car that's exotic, I would wait till the depreciation curve on it has dissipated.
Can you just buy Starlink or something and improve your internet?
You guys are both lagging so bad.
I can see you fine. I can't see Doug.
Oh, I see him fine. I don't see Matt.
Guys, is it them or is it me? Because you guys see, I'm clear and you can hear me, right? But these guys
see Mitt fine. It's totally frozen.
I see Mitt perfectly fine. StreamYard.
Dude, freaking StreamYard.
I see Mitt perfectly fine, and Dougie is like a big, like, hollow box, and he keeps like his screen keeps flashing. Yeah, now your hands are up.
Give it a sec. It's definitely not me, guys. I promise it's not me, because otherwise, like, I'm crystal clear. These guys
you're in like 4K, bro.
Yeah, all right, not me, bro.
Dougie's still a little fuzzy, but he's back now.
Anyway, okay, Matt, now you're back.
But if anything, I would be buying at the bottom of the depreciation curve, right? So 5-10 years after a sports car comes out, unless it's a super rare sports car, it's always going to depreciate in value, and then eventually it's going to hit a a terminal limit and only increase from there. Gallardos are there right now. Some 360 Modinas, a few other cars that have been out, over the past 10, 20 years. They're bottoming out and eventually increasing. So if anything, I might potentially buy a car that's on that piece. But for me right now, man, until I hit the 8-figure mark, it just really doesn't make sense for me to do anything like that.
Truth.
Do you guys in the first 2 months of the Trump administration, do you guys think the volatility in the markets is a function of his long-term goals and you both personally are ready to deal with it, or are you actually upset at what he's been doing?
Go ahead, Matt. I'll take the second hit on this.
I'm fine with it. I don't know if it's just me being a pure blood American liking to see, America kind of be put first, but everything that I denote is very much what Chris has, and I have talked about in the past, which is he's going to try to shrink the yield on the 10-year, make things easier to refinance. He's going to try to get interest rates down, make things easier for the economy and lube up the economy to continue to go. And hopefully, yes, there might be some short-term impacts for the first quarter or the second quarter, but I'm looking at this from a marathon and not a sprint. I always look at things at a 5 to 10-year time horizon personally. Do I think that, like, for example, a prime example, could Rocket Lab go down to $15, $14, $13? Of course it could. But I'm looking at it from a maybe it won't. And in 12 years' time, I'm going to be very excited that I bought the stock at $17 today. $17.50 if you don't. I didn't exactly buy it at 17. So for the people that are like looking, it didn't hit $17. It was at $17.50 and I bought some at $17.90. So, for the people that are, watching the charts, like, you don't necessarily know what you don't know. But to me, I have trust that he knows what he's doing. I'm okay with what he's doing. I honestly have always been in the boat of, I know that these railbacks were inevitable, right? And it's really whatever he's doing is trying to just make sure that people come to the table. Very often, I see this very often at, across the board in business, etc. You never accept the first deal. You never accept the thing that comes first. There's always negotiations. And unfortunately, with this presidency, you're letting people see inside your cabinet meetings. You're letting people into the Oval Office to see you sign executive orders day one. You're letting people see when he meets with influential leaders across the free world. And so with that, everything's up front and personal, and they feel like, oh my God, what's it? But people aren't used to being in these rooms, right? People aren't used to the diplomacy behind the scenes and see the disagreements between countries, right? Not everything is rose-colored and rainbows in the back end. But unfortunately, because you have this bureaucracy, it's made out to be seemed like nothing's ever wrong, everything's going smoothly and perfect. That's what they want you to believe, right? They want you to believe that everything's oiled up and perfectly smooth and running. And we're finding out with DOGE and many of these things that have been set up within the economy over the past 200 years that, in fact, there's a lot of fluff and a lot of things that have been unfortunately built upon built. And it's what happens when your government and your country grows massively and you haven't had anybody truly look at the efficiency side of things. Unfortunately for us, we've had a GDP that continues to grow massively. But, just like Amazon did in 2022, we said, you know what? We expanded massively. We have grown our footprint and our revenue by 50%. We've done nothing on the shape of Amazon to be like, oh shit, maybe should we reevaluate how much warehouse space we have? Oh shit, maybe we should have reevaluate how much space we have across the country. Things have changed, right? COVID has impacted us massively. And so with that, I think everything that's been going on over the past 6 weeks, in my opinion, is well warranted. I like it. I get every single tweet that DOGE makes. I laugh every time they come out, just at majority of the stupid stuff that we're paying for. And the funny thing is if you listen to the Communist News Network, they're going to try to pull wool over your eyes. And this is where I get a little apolitical here. So apologies for everyone. I try to keep it apolitical, but I won't be for this. They try to pull the wool over your eyes to say, oh my God, Elon got it wrong. We didn't send $50 million of condoms to Gaza. They're like, you got the country wrong. You sent it to Mozambique. He's like, we shouldn't be sending $50 million of condoms to any country. So you're focusing on the wrong things. And so you'll have these news reporters and the rest of the media trying to spin things. And it's like, I get it. I'm for, equality, right? I'm not for equity, but I'm for equality. Everyone should have the same opportunities as everyone else in the nation, but not everyone should have the same outcomes. Everything should be based off of merit, and people should be focusing on how do we drive America into the rest of the 21st century and become leaders in space, leaders in AI, leaders in technology. Because to be frank, we've sat on our laurels over the past 4 years and let other people catch up. And other than say Google and Palantir and a few other select companies that have kept things going, we've been able to sit on fat margins and not really take into account efficiency over the long term. And with that, we've let other countries catch up and take advantage of it.
Look, I will underscore everything Matt said just real quick. I agree. We are wasting a lot of money. And this is the part that has confused me a lot throughout the past couple months. I cannot understand how people are against what DOGE is doing. You could be against Elon, you could hate his politics, but whatever. You cannot, as an American or just as a human being that relies on America being one of the most important countries in the world and having a free and functioning economy, I don't know how you come up with an argument for why the concept of DOGE is a bad thing. And I've been trying to listen to the other side to come up with an argument. The only argument I get is Elon's not elected. They're not doing it the right way, yada, yada. It's all these idiosyncratic
process story. They try to make the process story, right?
Process, logistics, and ad hominem attacks. No one's actually attacking the concept of what Matt just said, which is that maybe we shouldn't be sending all this aid to places that don't need it. Maybe we shouldn't have buildings that have 5 people walking into them, but have leases of tens of millions of dollars per every 5 years. Like, we need to clean this shit up. And if Elon's the only one that's going to do it, you could have every bias you have against him. But if he gets the job done, I feel like that's a win for all Americans.
One of the things I love about DOGE is it has an expiration date on it too.
Yeah.
2 years and it's done. Yep. So they've got to get done what they've got to get done what they've got to get done. And I see a lot of criticism for them in the chat. And they're like, well, they're getting pennies on the dollar. They're not making any real progress. They're going after small stuff. I'm like, well, look, you just stood up a team. No one's ever done this before. You just stood up a team. You're just getting the people in place who can do this. You haven't figured out how your operation really even runs yet. You're just starting to pick. And we all know what USAID is now. 6 weeks ago, less than 5% of the people in the country had ever heard of USAID.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't hear about them.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So now everyone knows what it is. What happens once you get this team rolling and they figure out how to do their jobs correctly, and you have
it's a bunch of young kids.
Yeah, and you have a bunch of young kids. They get a little bit of confidence, and they get a little bit of cooperation from the secretaries in charge of the departments now, and then they go drop in the Defense Department. Then what's going to happen? You don't start there. You figure out how your team works first. You build version 1. You build the model. You build the little roadster or whatever it is.
Doug, it's people complaining about DOGE that have never actually done anything in their life. Yep. And it's just like, I am very cautious of when I critique something if I have not done anything to the extent of what someone else is trying to do. Like you don't critique people that are ambitious. You could have different analyses of it, but if someone's trying to like save a deficit of the most important country in the world, and they're actually somewhat making progress, and then you critique them at every step of the way, how are we going to make progress?
Yeah. He didn't start off catching Starship boosters. Okay. He didn't start off with the Falcon 9. He started off with that little tiny little rocket that barely went like 1,000 feet in the air and, came back down. That was it.
Yeah. And
it's like, you got to start your team small, and you got to teach them how to do the job first. No one's ever done this before. It's another thing Elon's doing that no one's ever done before.
Yeah, and you can have your own opinion on how DOGE is operating and be able to critique the process. I think that's totally fine. But to fundamentally be against him trying to do this, because no one has ever tried before. I mean, no one has ever tried to literally clean up and actually expose using public media. He owns Twitter, so now he doesn't have any bureaucratic control over getting the distribution of the information out there, and they're showing it to the American public what we're spending. We all deserve to know this. None of us actually knew how much we were spending and where our tax dollars were going. Maybe nothing really gets done over 2 years, but he's trying. And the fact that he's trying, to me, I think is commendable.
And yes, Armando Martinez at 1026 is right. Elon took over Tesla. He was not the original founder. Yeah, they had no employees. They didn't have any plans. They didn't have a car. They didn't have a prototype. There were no employees. He bought it. He bought a brand name. So yeah, congratulations with your one critique. Technically, you're correct. Actually, you're correct, but it doesn't mean anything. So we have to have real discussions on things if we want to get any place as a country together, and making little process nitpicks like that don't serve anyone any good. It keeps the discussion from being on the things that matters, and it makes the people who make that type of an argument look like a fool and shouldn't be engaged with anyway. So I'm sorry to, I don't want to make it personal, but because there's more than one person that does that, but you see that all the time, and that does need to be addressed and called out, I think.
Yeah, well, pushback is
Now
always warranted.
for my purpose, to get back to, I guess, the original question is, there are 3 things that I did not like about Donald Trump that really gave me pause for being a little more on board with him this time, instead of voting for Biden previous time. And they were, I did not like his Ukraine policy. I did not like his tariffs policy because I'm a free trader. And I really thought he was scummy and a little grimy on the crypto stuff. And here this week has just been me drinking that from the fire hose. So, this week has been kind of, and not only has it been all 3 of those things that I don't like, they have all been turned up to 11. And obviously taking market losses always sucks. But I do agree that with Chris's thesis that he gave this morning, that this debt needs to be refinanced, and it needs to be refinanced at substantially lower than 5%. We have to get this thing down to 3. Now, the problem is he's only got 100 days. And then that, whatever the narrative is after 100 days, that's going to be the record that he runs against in the midterms. Because Democrats and CNN and MSNBC, they're going to repeat whatever the state of the economy is in June of this year at election day next year. And so if Trump doesn't have everything running full tilt by this summer, then he's going to have to run against that, and I don't think it'll be very successful. But yeah, we have to tank the market to refi, unfortunately.
And see what you just did there, Doug, which I think is so important. You are not ideological. You just said why DOGE is a good thing, and then you critiqued the State of the Union in terms of the stuff you didn't like from Trump. I feel like people really feel they need to be on one side of the aisle. And it's like, you can't say anything bad about Elon, you can't say anything bad about Trump, or you have to say everything good about them. And it's just like, that's just not the right way to just be a functioning, rational human being. You can have a critique of Trump in his speech and also like Elon, right?
Yeah. I like Elon. I think he's done amazing things. I think he's a great American. Do I think he's Jesus Christ? No. Is he going to make mistakes? Yes. But I do think he's got enough money that he's not doing any of this anymore for money. He's a mission-driven guy, and he gets other people to believe in the mission, and that's why they're able to accomplish the things, not because of the money that he promises them that they're going to make. Yeah. If I would think if Elon thinks you're working for him for the money at a place like Tesla, at a place like SpaceX, at a place like Neuralink, heck, even at PayPal back in the day, or now at DOGE, if he thinks you're there for the money, he's not interested in you working for him. He wants you bought into the mission. And that's why people, whatever they said, Elon steals, like, what is he stealing? He's got a mission to make good AI that is trustable. He's got a mission to make rockets to Mars. He's not trying to bilk the Defense Department for dollars. He wants to go to Mars. If they help him subsidize it, then he'll offer them a service that they can use. But
I mean, Matt, go ahead.
No, I think that's right. I mean, there's just a few things I want to tap in that I may or not have said earlier. The first thing, to critique the whole thing, I mean, one of the reasons that I don't like Trump 2.0 is how he keeps reminiscing about Biden. And I have this about a lot of people, right? A lot of people reminisce about what's happened in the past. And, to me, I'm a forward-looking guy. And yes, the previous biases that you have or previous experiences dictate somewhat about the future. But to continue to harp on it, as a leader of the country, I know that you don't necessarily have the ability to just let go of everything. But to me, continuously bashing on the left, but it's like you're supposed to help try to unite. And so that divisiveness is something that I dislike, right? At the same time, I understand a little bit why that's okay to do. Not to the extent that he does it, but let me just tell you one thing. I've experienced so many people in my life that are smooth talking oil salesmen, snake oil salesmen, and everyone and their mother is just like, oh my God, they're the greatest person alive. But then they don't actually equate to doing jack shit or doing anything for this world. The thing that I like about Elon, the thing that I like about Donnie is they have money. They don't need people to like them. They're not trying to sell anything. They're trying to get their missions done. And so with respect to that, they don't mind the bluntness of what's actually coming out of their mouths. They're not trying to pull wool over anybody's eyes. They're not trying to be bureaucratic and be a politician and play both sides. They're just trying to get what they want and what they believe is best for the American people done. So I'll just leave that there, whether or not people agree with me. But that's not just advice for this presidency. That's advice for life, right? If you're at work and you see a snake oil salesman trying to smooth talk and they don't actually do anything, avoid those people at all costs. They're called con men. Yep. Right. And I see a lot of people fall susceptible to that on X and just throughout life in general.
Are you talking about people who
like people who spawn Trump coins or Melania coins? Or
I mean, you could say that too, right? But
the stuff I hate,
yeah. And then the last few things, I think, a few things that we didn't touch on, the Iron Dome thing, which Dougie, you touched on a little bit. Kratos made a deal with the Department of Defense, so I anticipate that will have potential follow-on effects or potential, right? Not guaranteed with Rocket Lab. That's something that they're testing with respect to hypersonic test beds, and maybe that'll be a part of something. Although I've gotten pushback on that.
Is that a delivery vehicle, Matt, or is that a?
That is a delivery vehicle for It's a defense. Sorry, I thought you meant like delivery to hypersonic, like to hypersonic. That not an offensive vehicle. It is a defensive vehicle. If that makes sense.
See, the physics just.
You would know better than I am, right? You're a rocket guy. I'm just an enthusiast. I'm not an expert. But so there's that. Second, he didn't mention it, but the LNG thing, and I want to get your opinion on that, right? So I'm not disregarding it. I do want to hear that. The LNG thing, bullish, right? Long term. Obviously, yeah. I'm setting up position for that. Doug, positions on BG. We'll hear from them on Thursday, and then next decade has some great announcements. I'm not going to talk about it live here, but if anybody's curious, they can do their own research. And then there was a third one, man, that I'm not really thinking of clearly anymore. But I'm still not short oil, but I'm like neutral-ish oil. I don't think oil is going to pop up anytime soon. Yeah. I think that there still needs to be a lot of stuff going on. I think the only short-term benefit that Trump can do is say that the oil prices are cheap enough where he can start loading the SPR. But I still see a lot of capital going into the oil industry and not a lot of
because we've got to refill the SPR. We've got to.
Yeah.
I mean, we have like 70 million, right? Barrels left.
You want to really know why we can't do anything in Ukraine? Because we don't have the oil to do it. I mean, tanks and trucks and planes and ships all need oil. And we gave ours away to save a little bit of economic pain. So we can't fight wars right now. But Amit, I did want to ask you this. So kind of in retrospect, and the thing the president pointed out tonight, and that he makes an excellent point about that Europe has spent more on LNG than they've actually given in defense.
Yeah.
How did the Biden administration let that strike go by where they could have said, hey, everybody, we'll supply your LNG. You don't have to buy it from Russia. And why hasn't Trump already made or is he laying the ground for that, do you think?
I think it has to do with climate change. Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline, right? For this reason of seeming like they care about the environment. Even with that cancellation, they still had enough LNG to provide to Europe, but they didn't go that route. maybe because I don't know the logical reason why. Maybe Matt knows, but maybe it was a climate change argument because yeah, it makes more sense. You're less dependent on Russia. That's like good.
Sorry, what was the question? I got distracted by a comment.
Why didn't we provide Europe a ton of LNG during the Biden administration?
And follow up, is Trump trying to seed the ground with that now, where we get where we end up being the main European supplier for LNG?
I find it hard to believe that we didn't provide a lot of LNG. That's partly the reason why Henry Hub gas prices spiked up so much in 2022, because the demand for providing that LNG to LNG terminals rather than providing it local supply blew up immensely. And we saw obviously the TTF go up to massive amounts. Henry Hub didn't spike up to nearly the same amounts, but it did spike up to be able to help compensate for some of that. And spot price LNG went from like $8 an MCF to like $16 an MCF, and then was supplied to Europe at over $50 an MCF. So I'm scratching my head a little bit when you're talking about Biden not providing LNG. I mean, he did put pauses on regulatory. So I guess I might not be fully comprehending the question.
Do you think Trump's trying to further that relationship then to get them off of Russian oil?
I think he's just doing it because it's just good for the United States. Like, we have literally the cheapest gas in the world, other than maybe local markets where they can't export it. Like maybe like some places in the Middle East where they all they either do is flare it, you know. And to be fair, at some points in the Permian in the recent past, we actually had to be paying for quite some time to be able to not flare the gas and ship it, because there was so much or so little pipelines built for gas at the point, and the oil production was growing so vastly that you actually had to pay somebody to take away your gas. You were not getting paid to take your gas. So, you know, that doesn't happen very often. I don't know.
Does that answer your question, Doug, in terms of how you're thinking of it?
Yeah, I just and then, you know, the president talking about Greenland, and now I'm thinking, oh, well, I mean, is he kind of wanting to do a transatlantic pipeline almost via Greenland? I mean, talk about moving gas from one part of the world to the other, and then moving it through Greenland, it stays cold too, so that helps there.
I think the Greenland thing is more about the northern ship channel through Canada, and
Probably.
as global warming, I think a lot of people anticipate there's a lot of, if you look at the geography of Canada, there's a lot of islands that are currently unpassable because of the ice that's built up there, and some people are thinking that instead of going through the Panama Canal, you'll be able to go through Canada and through a lot of those islands, and the hope is that, you know, that could potentially be another route. And I think using Greenland as kind of a mediary between, you know, if people were to go through that route through the Atlantic, they probably either have to come through and pass Greenland, or in between Maine and Greenland. And that might be another place where, if people think, like, I think what a lot of people don't also realize is, if you were to send a hypersonic ballistic missile or an intercontinental ballistic missile from Russia to the United States, it wouldn't come over the Atlantic.
Right,
it would come over the North Pole. And so Greenland also could be another opportunity for us from a defense perspective to help with intercepting ICBMs to help us. And I think a lot of people don't also recognize that the middle of the United States, kind of in the Great Plains area, is where a lot of our ICBMs are located. They're not really located on the coasts as much as people would think. It's more so located in the bases that are kind of in the middle of the country, at least from what I've understood. Now that could
like
be
Kansas through the Dakotas.
Yes. So in that case, if somebody were to attack us, it would probably be from the north across Canada into that area, rather than across let's say, the East Coast or West Coast. And so would Greenland be able to help us, intercept that while it's overpassing Canada? I don't know.
Yeah.
This is all speculative, and I'm just talking my way through a show at 10:42 on a
I still
on a
think the whole
Tuesday.
Greenland thing is like a joke. Personally, I don't understand. I mean, so every time he brings it up, and he brought it up in this speech, and he didn't bring up crypto. So I'm
Dude, where is the Bitcoin?
How dare you, bro? I'm sitting here holding on bags.
I know. How are you holding bags?
I'm good.
Well,
my
bags since you
cost
bought it
basis. Yeah, my
Dude,
cost basis.
I sold.
It probably has bags.
I sold my kidney, like Sailor said, to buy at 95, and this mother effer tanked it right after.
Like, I woke up in a bathtub full of ice.
So here's one thing I wanted to say for the speech too, and I had this thought earlier, and the conversation kind of went away from it, but I'll bring it up here. You know what he didn't do? He didn't say anything crazy that made us feel like the VIX is going to 40 tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fair. He actually said the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of said calming stuff, and it's like, oh, if the VIX goes back under 20 tomorrow, it'll feel kind of normal. Like nothing crazy.
Did you guys buy today because of the VIX spike?
I bought Hood, which I was probably going to do anyway.
Matt, did you buy anything? Oh, you Rocket Lab, right?
Rocket Lab, Venture Global, and NEXT, and then I sold one of my small oil plays, a very local Iraq oil play. Nothing proprietary about it, but just.
I do have a little story from this morning. Sorry.
Yeah.
Matt.
No, you're good.
No, I almost got a margin call this morning. I had sold a bunch of puts on qubits, and it crashed hard this morning. And so Robinhood was like, your margin is getting pretty low there, fella. So I bought back a little bit, released a lot of collateral, right? So I mean, that's mostly what it was. So I took about $1,000 loss, but released a lot of collateral, so the margin went back okay. And then of course, that stock reversed and it was up 10% by then. If I had just waited an hour.
I feel like there needs to be a rule that when you get the margin call notification, wait literally 30 minutes just to see, because usually that means shit's getting so bad that there tends to be a balance.
I didn't even get the notification. I just got the color changed on my little
balance.
Yeah,
that's not a margin call though. A margin call is when they literally email you and they say, "Yo."
Right. But it's getting down to the unhealthy level, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, I should probably release this. So yeah, and then by the end of the day, it's up 10%. So anyway, but just fun of being in the markets. Fun of being.
A question for you guys, because we kind of touched it, but I don't know if we dove into it enough. Do you think he was, I don't want to say lying about the Zelensky thing, and I know Zelensky has also been kind of backing up his stance about being thankful and wanting to make peace and everything like that, but do you think that that's more on the table? Do you think that there's going to be a quick resolution to that? Do you think there's going to be another round of spouts and I guess brawling in the Oval Office again before we truly get something?
Bro, that was did you read the Zelensky tweet?
I did not, actually. I'd heard about it.
Oh yeah, so he did one in English, or he had one in English, which is clearly not written by him because it was someone who's very fluent in English. And then he had one, the same thing in the same language, or in Ukrainian. So yeah, I mean, he said, "I am ready to come to the table. I apologize. We want to reiterate our commitment to peace. None of us want war." I'll see if I can pull the link
No,
here.
I got the tweet right here. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, look, I think a lot of this ended up becoming political theater. The conspiracy theory is that Zelensky and Trump are in on this, and they had that whole public spout in order to be able to.
I'd buy it, to be honest with you.
Well, why? So the reason I don't buy it yet is because I think when Zelensky asked JD Vance, he's like, "What do you mean diplomacy?" And that's really pissed off Vance, and that started everything. That felt very organic. That didn't feel what's the take on why that was a calculated move to?
Maybe Vance wasn't in on the.
Yeah, he might not have been on it, but here's what it is, Amit. When you are the leader of a country that gets invaded and you capitulate and surrender, the underground resistance kills you.
Right.
So you have to at least look in public like you were trying to stand up to the big dogs.
I see what you're saying.
So Zelensky says, look, we can do your deal, but you got to keep me from getting assassinated by my own people for surrendering. And
Can't make it look that
basically
easy.
all these people died for nothing, and we lost all this territory, and they're going to treat me as enemy number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You think
because people will soon, in 10 years' time, people are very short-sighted, right? People forget about things in 10 years' time. Yeah, shit, people forget about things in 3 years' time at most. So people are going to sit there in 10 years' time. Maybe that's a little bit, and sounds maybe a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Distasteful, because unfortunately this is death. But in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, when minerals are being pulled out of the ground, oil and gas reserves are being pulled out of the ground, and a lot of that potentially production profits are going to paying back the United States and Europe. People might be like, well, what the F,
Yeah.
And they might not necessarily think about, hey, we almost lost the entirety of the country. And I think a lot, you get a little bit of survivor's guilt, and sometimes with these things. I mean, company layoffs are a perfect example. It's like sometimes, unfortunately, you have to cut off a finger to save the entire hand, or sometimes the whole arm, or sometimes the whole body. And in this case, it's like, okay, like we could lose the entire thing, and they could brush up and go towards Poland, or we could give up our mineral rights, have a country still, live our lives like we were 3.5, 4 years ago, or heck, maybe even back to before Crimea was taken, and we can come out alive and hopefully fight another day. I'm no geopolitical expert, but it's just unfortunately the way that shit works.
It's Pétain from Vichy, France, right? I mean, he ended up having to be exiled because the French people were gonna kill him. He was, when France surrendered to Germany, there was a puppet government installed, and he was a long-time soldier who was installed by the Nazis. And at the end of the war, when we liberated France, he got out of town because they were coming for him next. I mean, look what the towns did with just anybody who had a beer with a German soldier throughout Europe, in Holland and in Denmark and all the countries that had been invaded.
So you think Zelensky is going to get the minerals deal done, get an eventual peace deal done, and then you think he's going to kind of off the record make a clause in that deal to get the United States to protect him? Because he needs some guaranteed protection, right?
Yeah, well, I think if he showed that he wasn't in a hurry to bend over and just capitulate, I think that's what he really wants to do. I don't think he's interested personally in being, in a position where he has to get protected and given, what's the term I'm looking for? Asylum in another country, or, tried and, in absentia for crimes against the state or something like that, right? So he's got to try to show that he fought for the resistance and for the Ukrainians, and there's no better to do it than with all the cameras in the world on you when you're in the middle of the Oval Office sitting next to Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's definitely
and now if he says, look, we got backed in the corner, we were going to lose all of our support unless we did this. So, it's almost like let Trump be the bad guy and the good guy here, because they're going to bring in the American workers. And if Russia attacks American workers,
yeah, that's not
well, there's your security right there. You've got American citizens as kind of your blanket.
I mean, it's tough. I know a lot of people are getting hung up on the mineral rights thing, but Ukraine's not a part of NATO, right? If this was something like Russia versus Germany or Russia versus the UK, we wouldn't be talking about.
I agree, Snack.
We wouldn't be talking about a minerals deal. We would just be helping them immensely. We would actually probably have troops on the ground. We'd have planes, already there, right? without question. But unfortunately for Ukraine, they're not a part of NATO. And somebody in the chat brought it up very well. Like, you know, the Baltics weren't even part of NATO up until very recently. And that's part of the reason why we're in this problem in the first place, is that, you know, to be very frank, the United States has continued to push and push and push. And NATO, maybe it's not the United States really, but it's more NATO, has continued to push and push and push further east. And Putin's just sitting there like, my territory and the wall that I kind of had, even though I gave it up in 91, you know, that wall that I kind of had like is continuing to disappear, and that space is disappearing. And if I don't fight back, I'm going to lose my country. I'm going to lose everything.
Lebensraum is false. It didn't work in World War II. It's really what caused almost all of World War II. That is a theory that the world has generally rejected. Ukraine had its own nuclear weapons. They voluntarily gave them up when they signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, with the understanding that the United States and Russia would provide them a nuclear umbrella and defend them once they gave up their nuclear weapons. They handed over the keys. They let them be exported back to Russia, and Russia invaded them. For my part, the United States is, for the most part, honored its agreement to help them defend themselves. So I also have no problem with it from there.
Geopolitics is wild, bro.
It's like 8D chess.
There's so much shit, like even trying to understand the macro with the Fed and inflation, and then you bring geopolitics into it. Is just, there's so much to get into. The crazy thing is, though, all of us every day are obsessed with all this little stuff going on, when in reality, most people invest in the markets, they don't care. They don't even know Trump's doing a speech tonight, you know, but we're analyzing.
And that's the thing. If that's the case, like, you know, to anybody out there that literally doesn't want to put in the work about, you know, bringing this back to the stock market. You know, I had my sister message me, and then she was just like, "Oh my God, my stocks are down." Right. And I'm sure you get the same thing from your sister.
My cousin said, she was like, "It's bleeding red." I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, if you don't want to pay attention to the markets, that's fine. Right. If you want to check in once a year, twice a year, or, you know, if you get notifications once a month from your phone, then just invest in the S&P 500, man. Like, straight up. And I think that majority of people, you know, the thousands of people that are in this chat, I would say 85 to 90% of them will probably do better if they just invest in the S&P 500. And because I think a lot of people get super excited to choose individual stocks. And, you know, then when one bad thing happens, they get emotional, they sell out of everything, they say the stock market's rigged, and 80% of them never come back. And, you know, those numbers are wrong, right? The statistics and the exact percentages, what I'm saying is wrong. But I hope I'm painting a picture that, you know, there's a simple way to invest in the markets. And, you know, I do this because it's a hobby of mine, right? And luckily my hobby is investing in the markets. And so, but a lot of people don't put in the due diligence enough to be able to find great companies, right? And a lot of people will be sold by snake oil salesmen on YouTube that are, no offense, just trying to get views and make it, and they don't actually have the intelligence. And luckily Amit is very different. Amit brings on phenomenal guests that have a lot of experience, tens of years of experience, and, you know, in that respect, he's able to bounce ideas, and his debate skills and his ability to kind of get great answers out of these people provides a phenomenal show that I think is very different than anybody else. But certain people will, like, no offense, this isn't a hit on Amit whatsoever. Amit will bring up a ticker on his screen, and because Amit brings up his ticker on his screen and 5,000 people are watching the show, and Amit doesn't have to have a position in this company whatsoever, people will buy it because it shows up on the screen.
Yeah, it's no.
Amit doesn't have to say it's good, bad, or other.
It's similar to CNBC, right? If they're just talking about a ticker, people buy it.
Yeah,
yep,
Kramer
right?
does the same thing.
And so it's like, you know, in my opinion, just, you know, take things with a grain of salt. Understand, and I always talk about this: have a plan, 5 steps, objective, time horizon, risk tolerance, how much capital you're adding all the time, how active or passive you want to be. And to be very frank, the majority of you would benefit from just investing in the S&P, but you know, some people might sit here and say this is boring. All this stuff has some sort of impact on the day-to-day. Do you need to be an absolute expert on geopolitics, this, that, or the other? No, but you do have to put due diligence in if you're going to be investing in individual securities in the stock market.
Yeah, I think that I agree. Obviously, a majority of people would do better if they invest in the S&P. If you choose to invest in individual equities and you're daring enough to do that, like all of us are, and a lot of people in the chat, that is not a bad thing. That is a good thing. That is something you're doing something very productive with your life. But the question then becomes, do you get emotional when a Rocket Lab falls from 30 to 17? Because if it's to the point where you're literally thinking very deeply negative, bad thoughts, and I've gotten these DMs from people because Nvidia falls from 140 to 117 and they can't handle it. It's like, no, dude, go to the freaking S&P because that volatility is still bad, but it's not as bad as an individual stock. And you just cannot be a market participant with individual equities if you're going to feel like that, which is why most of the people that are in the stream every day, they're obsessed with the markets because they actually give a shit and they're willing to deal with the volatility. But if you're not, there's just no point in picking individual stocks. I think that's it.
I mean, so one more question then, and this is the most important one of the night. With everything that's going on with Ukraine now, if we end up with peace there and it's some kind of deal where Russia's going to get some of it and maybe not, what are the implications for Palantir?
I think a lot of people have been asking this. It's really simple. Palantir already has a deal to rebuild Ukraine with BlackRock, JP Morgan. There's already billions of dollars committed to that fund. Palantir is not getting billions of dollars allocated, but they are already doing the demining stuff. They're working with the Ministry of Education. They're working with the Ministry of Digital Transformation. So I think the quicker the war ends, the better it is for Palantir to start deploying their software immediately to begin the rebuilding process. I don't know how much that's worth. I would imagine hundreds of millions of dollars over the next, decade, but maybe even billions. I think we'll see. But we don't even know if Palantir got paid for the defense software they gave. Like, I wish they would be more clear about this. We don't know if they got paid or if it was just.
But does that matter? Let me ask a serious question. And to me, sometimes it's not.
It was their sales case, right? It was their test bed. It was
Yeah,
hey, everybody, look what we can do.
So sometimes, like when you have a company like Palantir that has so much capital, not so much capital, but capital, they're now profitable. Sometimes you don't need to get paid. Sometimes you just need to be able to get in that industry or in that particular piece to be able to create the software, because nobody else is going to create customized software like Palantir.
I agree. So then the question just becomes them being upfront and transparent with that was a case study for us to get paid eventually from Ukraine, right? I mean, if they never get paid, it's whatever. But at some point, investors are going to want to see if they get money from that. But obviously, that put them in the front line of Western defense, and hopefully that gets them into Russia and Germany, or not Russia, Germany and France, and these countries that are now spending more on defense because they saw what they did in Ukraine. But I guess we'll find out.
And look at all the other NATO countries that stepped up, and you saw Karp immediately within the months following meeting with all these other countries:
Estonia, Finland, Poland, Lithuania, all the Baltic states.
It's all going to be kill chain stuff too, right? Like, I mean, it's got to be target identification, acquisition, and takedown, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yes, there is a hood giveaway of $1 billion. Not a billion.
$1 billion?
Of $1 million. I'll be live tomorrow at 4:45. So on the market close, we'll see. It's like a quiz or some shit they're doing.
Getting our 0.000018 Bitcoin again.
Yeah, it's some quiz. It's not a gold subscriber thing. I think it's a quiz. I don't know what it is, but they're gonna give away $1 million of Bitcoin. So that'll be nice to see.
What did you buy today, man?
I bought hoodie, I sold Reddit, and I bought Nvidia.
Why'd you sell Reddit?
Honestly, I took my own advice. The idea was to high class your portfolio in times of volatility. And I was like, do I really need Reddit? Made like a couple $100 with the covered call premiums attached. So I was like, all right, time to get rid of this and buy Nvidia here.
Doug, do you want to give the world your opinion on Reddit or not? They're not ready for it.
They're not ready for it.
You have a controversial take on Reddit?
I don't think it's controversial at all.
I don't think it's controversial at all.
Okay, first of all, I bought Reddit because the covered call premiums, the gamblers out there are insane. That's why I bought it in the first place, not because I really had a thesis. But what's your thesis on Reddit?
No, this chat is not ready to hear.
Yeah, they might not be ready for it.
Is it a bear thesis or bull thesis?
It is a bear thesis, bro.
Are you shorting it? You got to put your money where your mouth is.
Did you see Garcia's post about it today? Because if you did, because he and I are of like minds about this, I found that out.
Did you see my post under it? It wasn't that well done, but I did post underneath it.
Well, are you guys mad that they're like they're censoring people or something on it?
Oh, they are not just censoring people, man. They are like, you have like 200 mods that are controlling something like 8,000 subreddits. They're
So you
like
can't say
hyper
anything.
mods, and they're woke AF. You can't link. You're not allowed to link X profiles. You're not allowed to take screenshots of X and post them, or you'll get banned. And you'll get banned across all the subreddits they control. And we're talking about like our college football and like, I mean, they're like really made like our NBA, right? And it's all really super like anti-Israel stuff too. So
Do you think the company is going to take action?
the squirrel. No, I don't think the company's gonna take action.
Mm,
They're held hostage by their mods.
yeah, that's fair. And if they mess up with the mods, they're going to mess with the user growth, and that's going to, yeah, I mean,
Yep.
Sounds like a Mets channel.
And then to top it
Not
all
really.
off, whatever these mods are cultivating is being used as the training data for who knows how many AIs right now as, you know, as truth. So
yeah.
I wonder if I have to go look at the sources. When I hit Grok DeepThink, I wonder if it ever pulls Reddit as a source.
Dude, Grok has been unbelievable. Like the amount of praise it's getting from tech leaders.
I need to chat with Steve more because he said I like Notebook LM because I can upload YouTube videos or S1
No,
documents.
no. It's because you're a Google shareholder. That's why you like it.
Well, that too. Long Google. But I try to do the same on Grok, and I can't upload things as well. On
it
Grok.
doesn't ingest data as well, but just as
Yeah.
an LLM, it's fucking, dude. It's like, I just canceled OpenAI yesterday. I was a day late. If I did it a day earlier, I wouldn't have to pay the $20. But
yeah,
I'm done with
no,
OpenAI.
Grok is good, but I was poking a lot of holes in it today though. You know, you can find things that are kind of low popularity type of things. You guys may or may not know I'm like a big college gymnastics fan. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that. And Grok knows absolutely nothing about college gymnastics. I mean, you'll just ask, "Hey, who is the person in this video?" and it will incorrectly identify them. And you'll ask, what event are they doing? And it will incorrectly identify that. And so you have to have this whole conversation with it. And, you know, there's 4 events in women's college gymnastics. It'll get the first 2 tries wrong. Like, so, you know,
what about rockets and stuff? I mean, you're a rocket guy. How does it do that?
So rockets, there's a lot more data on, right? A lot more public data. So working on the proposal for my level 3 rocketry certification, where you have to submit a proposal to 2 engineering advisors by the EEE Rocketry Association prefects, and that has to be pre-approved before you even begin construction. So working on my proposal, it's able to help me out a lot with that, from selection of materials to design to like just trying to figure out the working load limits for all of the small hardware that will attach things together. And yeah, it's able to help you break down a project, a technical engineering project, with a lot of detail. I used it at work the other day without giving it specific work data. If anyone knows where I work, I was not giving it actual company data, but I was asking it about calculations that may be required in this particular scenario. And it gave the right answer. And then the funny thing was, we asked the same question to Copilot, which is the only one we're kind of allowed to use inside of work.
Must have been trapped.
And all it did was it took its answer from the email that I had like copied and pasted from Grok and sent to us. So
Yeah.
it gave us the same answer. It just used the one we had just emailed from Grok. So it's copying off of Grok's paper.
Copilot's got some issues, bro. Like, I get why Microsoft's not green over the past year.
It's not. Look, we have this whole data lake, right? And okay, Palantir should be able to handle this too. And Palantir plus Grok, oh, that sounds awesome. But
That's a thing now. That's a thing.
I should be able to ask at this stage in the game, as an engineer, I should just be able to ask our software what calculations we need to do for, hydrostatic pressure testing of buried piping for a section that is, so many miles underground or something like that, right? And it should be able to just tell me. I shouldn't have to go try to figure out which formula has to be used based on the classification of this and that and which jurisdiction. Like, the system should just know which jurisdiction this pipe is in, right? It should just know all this stuff. And I shouldn't have to be trying to track it all down every single time operations has a question on or maintenance has a question on what to do this. So it's really kind of frustrating because I get to do my stuff with my rockets and I feel like I'm living in the 21st century, and then I go to work and it's like I'm in the 1970s again.
Oh, that's the one last thing I wanted to touch on that. So thank you for reminding me. So you have these companies that we think are like, everyone just assumes that everything is efficient because we use Google, we use Amazon, etc. And exactly like Doug said, they're using Copilot, which is, in my opinion, been clunky as crap to use at the office. But not only that, but you have these companies that are hundreds of years old. Take where I work and take where Dougie works, and they're companies that are, a century old at some parts of it, that have built disparate data systems and disparate software systems across multiple different silos. This part of the company was acquired in 1980. This one was acquired or divested in 82. And so to have the communication between these things, this is absolutely awful. Now imagine a government entity that is over 200 years old that has had all these different silos built and created in different administrations, and now you can understand why the talk about efficiency and being able to digitalize the government is something that is massively needed, and the efficiencies that you would gain from doing something like that. It just, I see the lack of efficiency in these 100-year-old organizations, these 100-year-old banks, and that's why people are trying to reinvent them. And next thing you know, you're sitting here not thinking that we should do the same with the government. It's actually very laughable. So hopefully that brings a little bit of context as to why, one, I'm always very up about Palantir and the value of that, but two, all for DOGE.
All right. Do we call it a night at 12 a.m.? 11 for you guys.
11 for us. We had such high winds today that I got a call during the speech. Our office got damaged, and so tomorrow's work from home day. Woohoo!
I got to check if my flag is still up front. Got to make sure that Star Spangled banner is still lit up with the light.
No one else finds it ironic that the only person who's allowed to remote work in the whole country is Elon Musk, right?
That is, dude. He is at the White House on Air Force One all day. Like, he's just got to be.
He's not in Austin.
He's not in.
He's not in Spaceport.
He's probably still getting a lot of shit done, just like virtually. But I mean, that machine is running without him, literally day to day being there.
He's not in Nashville. He's not at XAI. Like, he's not in or Memphis, wherever it is. He's not in Austin. He's in Washington. He's famously sleeping in Washington, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, he's getting new baby mamas in Washington probably right now. I mean, like, this is
bro. I heard at now it's all IVF too. It's like you can like sign up for some Elon juice. Like, there's no coitus involved.
Provided by Elon, or
yes,
or stolen from Elon.
Like I said, no coitus necessary. And
I think he's recognizing just like how serious of a task he's taken on with DOGE, and the fact that Tesla's still public and that he still wants to go to Mars, and like he's trying to do everything, and it's not going to be perfect at all. But he's 53. I think he's getting to the point where he's like, he just doesn't care anymore. He's just going to try to do whatever he can and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, he's a serial entrepreneur, right?
Wait, why are you laughing, Matt? What comment? Got you?
Spencer in the chat.
Wait, what'd she say? Okay, never mind.
But we all know those people, right? The serial entrepreneurs. Like, they start a business and then they start another one, like a totally different industry 2 years later, and then 2 years later they start a new business. Like, they are never like, let me just run this one and make it great. They just keep starting new businesses. Yeah.
But he keeps making really great businesses. That's the
He
magic.
does. I mean, he like I said, he's awesome. He's excellent. Dude.
I mean,
But
dude, they
as
got.
a Tesla shareholder, I do feel cheated those last few months.
Yeah, I told you guys. My dad was like, "Why
Some
the fuck?"
brand defense would be nice. Like one or two
My dad is wondering why he's still the CEO. Like like logically, my dad's just like, wait, this guy's not spending any time here. Why? Like, why is he?
It would make sense for him to be chairman.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
Like
a
Palmer
board
Luckey
advisor.
is.
Yeah.
Be with the Palmer Luckey of Andrew. Like be the chairman of Tesla. That's fine. Hire somebody to do the job you tell them to do.
That's what makes Grok even more impressive to me because they launched Grok 3 XAI. He left working at the White House for like a day to go do that launch video, and it's the best LLM out there. So it's like he's got this brand new startup that just raised at 75 billion. That's like producing the best AI in the world while trying to fix the government, while trying to manage Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, Boring Company. It's just insane.
Because he knows how to find people who believe in the mission and get them all poured in the right direction and let them cook.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I don't see why he can't be the Elon, have the relationship that you have with X, have the same relationship with Tesla. He has Linda, what's her name, Yacario? I always feel like I say it right, say it wrong. Yeah. So she's the CEO of X. So let somebody be the CEO of Tesla, and you go do your thing.
Yeah. Ray is a longtime Tesla shareholder. Tesla's down almost $1 trillion.
Hire Ray.
55 billion.
Hire Ray. I mean, find somebody who still believes in the mission of Tesla and will pursue it relentlessly. Hire them to be CEO and go do some brand defense. Or
dude, that's
advertise. If you're not going to do it yourself, you might have to advertise. The horror.
When I talk to young people that are just applying for jobs, one of their number 1 and 2 companies are Tesla and SpaceX. Like engineers want to work there.
Yeah.
So it's like they're still getting the best talent. It's just Elon might not be there every single day, you know? But
yeah. Well, they don't go there to work for Elon necessarily. They go there for the mission.
Yeah.
Because it's been well enough communicated, I think.
Okay, last topic here. You both are in Houston, right?
Great question. Unflappable fog. Great question.
Somewhere.
Okay, so the Houston meetup's definitely happening. I think May has a better shot than April. And I think we're gonna do a week out there. I'm gonna try to see Doug, Matt. Well, I want to do the meetup where you guys can come there and everyone else can show up who's in Houston. So yeah, it'll be happening probably in May. And Roy is down there as well too.
Yeah.
So
Roy, yep, I'm getting launch with Roy up there.
And Melanie and
Melanie is in Houston?
Yep.
Really? I thought she was in like Seattle or something.
Not Melanie, Michelle.
Michelle.
Sorry,
yeah,
Michelle.
Yeah.
Sorry, Michelle. I'm so sorry.
J Law, Miss Law.
Oh, Julie's in Houston too? Oh,
Yep.
wow. Okay, so we definitely all right. So Houston will be a fun one then. That'll be a fun meetup.
Yeah.
I'm just saying Houston. I don't know. There's so many cities around Houston.
Right. You are aware how large Houston is, right?
Yeah, it's pretty big.
I'm just gonna get an Airbnb 2 minutes from your house, Doug.
All right.
And
Think of the state of Connecticut, and then that is Houston.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty big. That's okay.
What 50 miles wide? Something like that.
We'll figure it out.
I mean, from my house to my aunt and uncle's in the Woodlands is a 2-hour drive on the highway, and we both say we live in Houston. So,
All right. Well, May is the right weather though, right? May is not too hot.
May will be great.
Yeah, May's great.
All right, so we're gonna do May. That'll be perfect.
Yeah. Ray and I live like 2 minutes from each other. Still haven't got together for lunch, which we need to do this weekend.
I had somebody reach out to me. I think something like March. I think they said March 14th. We were planning something, or they were planning something. I don't know.
You gotta have
that would be inclusive of you, Doug.
Oh well, someone should include me earlier rather than later.
Yeah, I just
Doug's busy, bro. Doug's launching rockets. He got his schedule.
Yeah, I got rockets. I got gymnastics. Like,
there you go.
I mean,
yes,
she doesn't remember me,
Adam
but I have met Olivia Dunn multiple times. I'm sure she doesn't remember me, but
heard it here first.
Yeah.
All right. That is it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into our coverage. Deeply appreciate it. Matt's Twitter, I'm putting right here in the chat. Same thing with Dougie.
Thanks for having me on, bro. I had a great time tonight.
Yeah, dude, it was fun. It's
yeah, good.
I don't get on very often, but it's good time.
Yeah, Doug's been watching the channel for a long time, and so happy when he's able to take some time and give us his.
And I do take my glasses off from time to time. It was just trying to throw a little Chris Camilla vibe around, you know.
Dude, if
You're
I
like
wore
Andrew
my
Tate. The glare hurts your eyes, you know.
The glasses play though, right?
They do.
I like the glasses inside, but everyone thinks you're a douche if you wear it. So that's the problem.
They don't know if I'm inside or outside. All they know is I'm in front of bricks.
That's true. That is true.
He's all bricked up.
Okay. On that note, we're ending it. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys in the market open tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Have a good day. Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.